This video will go over the option settings for exporting a video via the Control Center client in Latitude. This video can also be used as a guide for our other NVR platforms, Horizon and Meridian as well. Let's first get started by accessing the Control Center client. Once you've accessed the Control Center client, first navigate to the Tools drop-down in the upper left-hand corner of the screen and proceed to the Options section. Once the Options section has been opened, please go ahead and expand out the Export section down here. We'll be looking at the Clips section, so go ahead and expand that out to see the additional features below and highlight the clip itself. A few notes before we get started. As this requires additional privileges in order to access this section, it may be necessary to contact an administrator before you can begin the process of configuring these features on your own. In this section, you have the ability to specify a specific export location. The system's default location will go to the root of the drive where the Latitude installation has gone in a folder that we've pre-designated called Exports. Many users generally like to choose a more user-friendly location. This can be done by clicking on the three dots on the right-hand side and either selecting a new location or creating one within the directory by simply clicking on the Make New Folder button and giving the folder a name. Once the folder has been named and completed, go ahead and click on the OK button, which will automatically update the save location up here at the top of the list. Many of the settings that you'll find in this section can be adjusted here to make routine exporting an extremely efficient task, with the ability to modify these export settings on a per export basis if the advanced mode box remains checked down here at the bottom of the screen. Let's take a quick look at some of the settings that can be adjusted in this section. By default, the Create New Folder for each export is automatically checked for you. This ensures that when clips and other information that would go along with the exported clips remain packaged together in one simple and easy to find folder. We also have the ability to include the standalone player and to create an auto-run file as well. This comes in handy when you're exporting to portable media such as a CD-ROM, making it extremely easy to dispatch this information to an individual with limited knowledge of the Latitude system and still keeping it simple and easy for them to review the information. The next section is the max file size. The max file size simply pertains to the maximum file size that can be exported from Control Center. This doesn't mean that it's limited to 500 megs for an entire clip. It just simply means that if the clip were to exceed 500 megs, it would be broken down into subsequently smaller files. 500 megs plus perhaps an additional 400 megs in another file. The next section we come to is the codec section. Now by default we utilize what's called the DVTEL format or the DVT format. This is DVTEL's proprietary format. Using the proprietary format ensures that we can validate the authenticity of the clip at any point once the clip's been exported from the system. You do have the ability to change from this format and choose one of the other available formats that can be found in the system. Many additional codecs can be downloaded offline to export video. We also have the same option for audio if it's included in your export as well. The next segment we come to is the time segment. The time segment really only impacts exported clips that originate from the query pane. When you query for a clip, it gives you a query result, and from that query result you can export directly. This would just ensure that if you query for say a 2 or a 3 day clip, you only export a 60-second segment of that clip. It's more of a safeguard than anything. It's generally not the preferred method of exporting by most individuals. However, if it is a method you choose to use, it can be adjusted in this section. Now that we've seen the export settings section, let's take a look at some of the methods of exporting video from Control Center. In this video, we'll be covering two different methods of export from Control Center. The first method will be one of the most used methods by Control Center operators today. It'll require you to display some recorded video on the screen. We're going to use the most direct approach for that. By simply finding a camera in our list, I'm going to display it in Control Center. I'm then going to arm a tile for instant replay and simply click on the instant replay button here, which will bring me to the recorded clip. Once on the timeline, I can navigate around in the timeline using the arrow keys or by simply double-clicking on the timeline to move my current frame position into a specific area. Additionally, I also have a jump to a specific time button, which allows me to navigate even further back in time to find the information that I'm looking for. Once I get to an area of interest, I can use the controls to pause the video. Once paused, assuming that I'm at the beginning of the clip that I'd like to export, I can use the mark in bracket that's found up here on the toolbar. This creates a starting point on the timeline and an arrow that points downstream on the timeline bar. I can now click on the play button or even the fast forward button a couple of times until I get all the required information in between the first mark in bracket and the current frame position that you see on the timeline, and then I'll pause once again. Next on my toolbar, I can use my mark out bracket, which creates a set of brackets on the timeline. When you hover your mouse over the set of brackets, you'll see the exact starting time and ending time of the video clip in between the brackets. You can move the brackets by simply left clicking and dragging them around, or even expand them by grabbing them at the points and left clicking and expanding them out, ensuring that you get all the relevant information in between the starting and ending point of the brackets. Once you've verified that this is the clip that you'd like to export from Control Center, a simple right click on the brackets and choosing the export command from the list will start the process. It will open up the export settings box over here on the right hand side, giving you the ability to name the clip before you export it. You can also determine if the default save location that we specified in the Tools and Options section will be used, or if not, another one can be specified by clicking on the three dots over here. If you'll be using the default settings that we defined in the Tools and Options section, you can just go straight away and click on the OK button, which will export based on the criteria that was specified earlier. If you decide that some additional changes may need to be made, you can simply click on the Advanced button and it will open up that same window that we looked at earlier in the Tools and Options section, giving you the ability to make certain adjustments for this clip before the export commences. Once all the criteria has been set correctly, a simple click on the OK button will start the export process, bring you directly to the export status window. When you see the progress bar hit 100%, you can be sure that your clip has been placed in the folder that you designated. If you're unaware of where the export location is, if you look in the description box, it tells you exactly where the clip has been exported to and the name of the clip that's been provided. So now if we minimize Control Center, we should be able to access that information by finding our DVTEL export folder on our desktop that we created earlier, accessing the folder, and finding the file. You'll notice that there are two files available in this folder. Depending on what you've exported from your system, there may be two or potentially more files available. It's really important to make sure that all these files do stay together, as if you remove any of the components, the file may not play back or possibly not be able to be validated for authenticity at a later date. The two files that you see here, the larger of the two, the DVT file, is the actual video file. The secondary file is the file that we use to validate the authenticity of the video. Now let's head back to Control Center and look at that second option we have for exporting video. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and clear my tiles and get back to the default Control Center layout. Down on the bottom left hand side of the screen, there's the query button. The query button will reskin this side of the screen to allow you to search for various video clips that have been recorded in the system. We're going to do a very basic query just to get our video clips populated. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a basic search for clips. We're going to go ahead and click on one or multiple cameras in the system. Select the date and time range that we'd like to search for video upon, and simply click on the Go button. This will bring us directly to the query result pane over here on the right hand side of the screen, directly from the query result pane. When you highlight one of the clips, you do have the ability to export it straight away. Earlier when we were looking at the Tools and Options section, I mentioned that there was a limitation. That limitation by default was 60 seconds. That ensures that you don't make a mistake and accidentally export a video clip that may be relatively large in size. As you can see, the one clip that I'm looking at here is almost a day's worth of recorded video. But if this is a method that you choose to export video, simply go in and adjust that time frame to something that may suit your needs a little better. Additionally, many people who choose to use this option for exporting will generally use a more specific date and time range by utilizing the manual selection process, selecting the date and time range very specifically that they're looking for. This can help ensure that only the video required is exported from the system. Again, thank you for your time.